The Red Sea, a vital artery of global commerce, is once again a theater of conflict. On March 15 and 16, 2025, the United States launched a series of airstrikes against Houthi rebel targets in Yemen. This escalation marks a significant turning point in the years-long conflict. The strikes, authorized by President Trump, targeted key infrastructure and military installations controlled by the Houthis. These included facilities in the capital Sana'a, as well as the strategic port city of Hodeidah. The operation involved a formidable display of American firepower. The USS Harry S. Truman Carrier Strike Group, a formidable force comprising destroyers, a cruiser, and the USS Georgia cruise missile submarine spearheaded the assault. Over 30 sites associated with the Houthi rebels were decimated in the relentless air campaign. This show of force sent shockwaves through the region and beyond. World leaders and international organizations watched with bated breath, acutely aware of the potential for these strikes to ignite a wider conflagration. The strikes represent a dramatic escalation in the US's involvement in the Yemeni conflict. They are the first such actions taken under President Trump's second term, signaling a more assertive foreign policy approach. The Trump administration has framed the strikes as a necessary response to Houthi aggression. However, the strikes have also drawn criticism from some quarters. Critics argue that they could exacerbate the humanitarian crisis in Yemen and further destabilize the region. The situation in Yemen is complex and precarious. The country has been ravaged by civil war since 2014. The Houthis, a Shia Muslim group, control much of the north of the country. They are fighting against the internationally recognized government, which is backed by a Saudi-led coalition. The conflict has created one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Millions of people are on the brink of famine. The recent U.S. airstrikes have only added to the suffering. The Biden administration has offered a two-pronged justification for the recent airstrikes. Firstly, they argue that the strikes were necessary to protect international shipping in the Red Sea. The Houthis have repeatedly attacked commercial vessels in the vital waterway, raising concerns about global trade and energy security. The U.S. Navy has accused the Houthis of using sea mines and explosive-laden boats to target ships. These attacks, they claim, are a direct threat to freedom of navigation and the global economy. Secondly, the Biden administration asserts that the strikes were intended to pressure Iran, which supports the Houthis, to cease its destabilizing activities in the region. The U.S. accuses Iran of supplying the Houthis with sophisticated weapons, including ballistic missiles and drones, which the rebels have used to attack Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. By striking the Houthis, the Biden administration aims to weaken Iran's influence and deter further aggression. This strategy, however, carries significant risks. The U.S. claims that Iran is the primary backer of the Houthi rebels, providing them with arms, training, and funding. While Iran acknowledges its political support for the Houthis, it denies providing them with military aid. The U.S. has presented intelligence reports and satellite imagery as evidence of Iranian support for the Houthis' attacks on shipping. However, these claims remain disputed. The strikes have been met with a mix of condemnation and cautious support from the international community. Russia, a permanent member of the UN Security Council, has called for restraint and a return to dialogue. Moscow has long been critical of U.S. military intervention in the Middle East. It views the strikes as counterproductive and likely to escalate tensions further. The human cost of the airstrikes is still being assessed. The Houthi-run health ministry in Yemen claims that at least 31 civilians were killed and 101 injured in the strikes. However, these figures have not been independently verified. Aid agencies on the ground are struggling to reach the affected areas due to ongoing fighting and insecurity. The strikes have also raised concerns about the potential for civilian casualties. Adding to the controversy surrounding the strikes is the accidental leak of military plans through the encrypted messaging app Signal. Sensitive information, including targets, timelines, and troop movements, was inadvertently shared on a public group chat used by U.S. military personnel. This embarrassing security breach has raised serious questions about the military's operational secrecy and the potential for such leaks to jeopardize future missions. The Signal leak has drawn sharp criticism from lawmakers and cybersecurity experts. They argue that it highlights the need for better cybersecurity protocols and training within the military. The incident has also fueled concerns about the Biden administration's handling of classified information. This is particularly sensitive given the administration's focus on cybersecurity in the wake of high-profile cyber attacks. The international community has expressed deep concern over the civilian casualties caused by the airstrikes. The UN Secretary-General called for an independent investigation into the strikes and urged all parties to respect international humanitarian law. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have also condemned the strikes, alleging that they may amount to war crimes. The organizations have called for an end to arms sales to all parties involved in the conflict. The recent airstrikes in Yemen have reverberated throughout the Middle East and beyond. They come at a time of heightened geopolitical tensions, with the Iran nuclear deal hanging by a thread and the rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Iran intensifying. The strikes threaten to further destabilize the region and could draw the U.S. deeper into the Yemeni quagmire. The potential consequences for global trade are also significant. The Red Sea is a vital shipping route for oil and other goods, and any disruption to traffic through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait could have a ripple effect on the global economy. The strikes have already led to increased insurance premiums for ships operating in the region, and some shipping companies are considering rerouting their vessels around the Cape of Good Hope, which would add significantly to transportation costs and times. The strikes have also sent shockwaves through the energy markets. The price of oil, already volatile due to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, surged to its highest level in over a decade following the strikes. This spike in oil prices threatens to fuel inflation and could slow down the global economic recovery. The strikes have also highlighted the strategic importance of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a narrow waterway that connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean. This choke point is a vital artery for global trade, with an estimated 4.8 million barrels of crude oil and refined petroleum products passing through it every day. The long-term consequences of the recent airstrikes in Yemen are still unfolding. What is clear is that the strikes have raised the stakes in an already volatile region and have the potential to escalate into a wider conflict. The international community must now work towards a political solution to the Yemeni crisis and prevent further bloodshed. The alternative is a humanitarian catastrophe and a further erosion of global security.